Listen to the Vibes, hosted by Coyote Night. Listen in for some positivity and good times. The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes broadcast network. Listener discretion is advised.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. I have here Mr. Mike Wilson. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing awesome. How are you?
Man, if I was any better, I don't know what I'd do.
That's what's up.
So, we want to hear all about you, of course, and about what you do. And so let's just kick it off. Where are you from?
Definitely. So I am originally from Illinois, about an hour northwest of Chicago in a city called Rockford, Illinois. Came down here to Texas. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas now. I've been here for about a little over 10 years.
Okay.
And I'm with my wife. We will be married for 10 years in September.
Congrats.
Thank you so much. We have 3 boys, a 6-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-week-old. We just had our 3rd boy, so it's a lively bunch right now.
So you're like me, a glutton for punishment.
Come on.
So you're in the Fort Worth area, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right, I am just outside of Austin.
Awesome. Yes, I've seen that. I have family down in Austin, so no, that's awesome.
God's country.
Come on. I love it. I love it.
All right, so tell us a little bit about what you do.
Definitely. So there's a bit of a list, but I am a certified life coach. I'm a business coach, an author. I've authored 4 books. I'm currently writing my 5th right now. Got a couple courses. So I do a lot. You know, I'm also a licensed realtor because I love to invest in real estate. And so whatever you need, I'm pretty sure I can help you with. And I've done.
So how about taking 5 kids off my hands?
Hey, I used to be a youth pastor as well, so I can entertain some people. That's all right. That's all right.
Hey, I actually did that one time myself. So
come on.
All right.
That's it. I love, and I truly love to serve people. Like that's why I hold the licenses that I have. I've done so many different things in my life just because I love to fill needs. I love to be solutions to issues and the problems, or at least to help people find the solutions to their problems. And so,
okay.
So, yeah.
All right, I got you, because that's the same thing as me. I love helping folks. I don't know why.
I can tell by the name of the show, right? About them positive vibes. I love it. I love it.
You know, there's so much negativity out in this world, and to bring a little bit of positivity in people's lives, it just means so much. And
yes,
some of them really appreciate it. So
that's what it's all about.
So what did you start out doing?
Ooh, so back in the day, I really started out in fire and life safety. So right out of high school, I became a CAD designer. It's AutoCAD. Began to design schools and did sprinkler systems. And honestly, I just didn't feel fulfilled. You know, I'd sit at a desk for about 10, 11 hours every day. And in Illinois, for those of you guys who are in the South, in Texas, you know, there's only 2 seasons here. You know, it's hot and hotter. But up there's 4 seasons. And winter is a long season. And when you're up there and there's all this snow, it's incredibly dark for a long time, it feels like. I would go to work and it's dark, and then I would get off work and it'd be dark. And so I never seen daylight. And so I'm like, I can't continue to do this. It began to mess with my psyche a little. And so from there, I began to intern at a church to become a youth pastor, did some schooling there. And it was really from being an intern, I came down here following one of my mentors. And from there, I became a youth pastor, began to work with the youth. I've done some speaking engagements in schools, some anti-bullying rallies. It was crazy 10 years ago when I came down here to Fort Worth. You know, the school system had kind of been in an uproar. There were suicides and teacher deaths, and it was in a small amount of time, there were quite a few of these deaths. And so I became a grief counselor. And so I was a certified grief counselor. I could go into the schools and really begin to help these individuals. And that's when I realized, that's when it really hit me, like, man, I can be doing more than, sitting at a desk. Even though I was making a lot of money, I realized real quickly the money wasn't going to satisfy that, whatever that void was. And so going into those schools and helping those students and to talk to the teachers and, becoming a pastor and being able to go into the hospitals, and all of that just felt great to me. It just felt amazing because I began to see that I love to get things, but it was really in giving that I found the true, like that real blessing, like that real thing of, wow, like this is really touching my heart to be able to give my time, because that's that's how people have love, right? They spell love Time, right? Like you can give them
Exactly.
presents and gifts and flowers, but when you spend that quality time with a person and say, you know what, I truly care about you. I truly care about, who you are, and even more so, I care about where you can be, and I want to help you take that step. And so that's where, my book series, it's called 100% Me. Like I said, I have 4 books in there right now. It'll be a 10-book series by the end of this year. But it's all about helping people become 100% who they were created to be. And so,
Yeah, a lot of people will like give money, but that's just throwing a band-aid onto something that
right,
if you actually give your time and yourself, then that lasts a long time.
exactly. That's exactly it. That's
And,
exactly it.
and another thing is I learned from a lot of successful people that in order to achieve success, then you have to be willing to give of yourself,
Yeah.
and uh, to I guess what I'm trying to say is a buddy of mine, to put it simply, he said that he would just give things away, and I'm like, give things away? That's crazy. And he goes, no, you don't understand. He says, he's an architect,
Okay.
and he would put out on a website, hey, if you need plans for your home or whatever, you message me and it's yours for free. I'm like,
Wow.
gosh, that's a lot of time.
Wow. Yeah.
But because of that, it led to him being able to build, I mean, excuse me, to make plans for a place that was going to cost millions and millions and millions of dollars, and now he's a millionaire because of it.
Yeah. Wow.
You never know how that's going to pay off.
That's it.
So
That's it. Yeah, I run in a lot of circles when it comes to speakers, and I do some public speaking, some excuse me, some motivational speaking, and that's one of those gifts that keep on giving. Like when you go in to speak, and the person's like, well, I really don't have a budget for it, and it's like, let me just go and share my heart and hope that I can touch someone else's. And at that point, I've had engagements that led to other engagements that led to other engagements, all because of that pro bono gig that I did over here.
hmm
And now here I am, made more money on this gig because of it. And that, but that's our life, right? I mean, we begin to see that when we give our time, we give ourselves to help, literally to help someone else, because it's not necessarily a selfless act, because you can almost anticipate, like, man, like this is out of the goodness of my heart. It always flares goodness in someone else. Like, it may not come directly back to me, but if I can spur the goodness in someone else to go and bless someone outside of that, like when you hear those stories, like my first book, 100% Me Mentally. I mean, the whole series was really selfish, I gotta tell you. Like, this was a thing, like, growing up, I didn't have these male role models that I could look up to. I had, dads, uncles, grandfathers who were really just womanizers. They were in the church, womanizers. They were at work, womanizers. I watched people cheating, my dads. Like, it was just this crazy kind of environment that basically told me, if you're going to be a man, you have to pretty much go after anything that has 2 legs, and you have to,
right.
put a roof over someone's head. And I'm like, that's it? Like, it has to be more to this thing, right? And so now that I'm an adult and I've pursued these relationships of literally saying, you know what, I want someone in my life who cares so much about my well-being and for me to be the man that I'm created to be, that they will tell me the ins and outs. They will show me and give me the embarrassing moments and how they walk through them. And I began to pursue these relationships. And now I'm like, you know what, for my kids, I want to make this kind of family constitution that has these 10 kind of foundational pillars that tells my sons, hey, this is what it means to seek wise counsel. these are the individuals that you want to run to. You don't have to run to the streets and the gangs like I did, because those guys, they cared about me until they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was cool
Exactly.
until I wasn't, and it was like, whoa, y'all just dropped me. Like, okay, and and so I had to put these things in place, and it was just put on my heart. You know, God really put it on me. Like, you know what? There are more people, there are more men, there are more sons who need this, who need
Yes.
this family constitution that you're building for your sons, but I put in you. So if it's in you, share it. And so I'm like, you know what? So I started publishing those books, and like I said, we're 4 books strong, and I'm watching people literally come out the woodwork. Like, yo, I couldn't find a job for 2 months. 2 months. I'm searching and searching, or 2 years. Sorry, for 2 years. I read your book. 2 months later, I got a job because 100% me mentally, I was able to literally crush those mental mind blocks, you know, that were holding me back, and boom. And so it was like, wow. And that book was given to you by a friend who was a friend of mine who I gave the book to. And I just watched it. It's like, I don't know this person, but that story came back to me, and it made me feel better than if they would have bought my book. Like, sure, I would have made, $4 off of that, after Amazon takes all its fees. But it's just like, I got so much more than that, because here's a life that was truly impacted by a free gift of a book, because of something that was on my heart. Like, it's a
It
beautiful thing.
kind of reminds me of that movie Pay It Forward.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, you have to see it. I'm not real crazy about the actor in it, but the story behind it is really awesome, because this kid is given an assignment, and he has to. I forgot exactly what the assignment was, but his idea was that he would go out and he would do something nice for somebody, and in return, all he'd ask is that you would go forward and do it for somebody else, or do
Yeah.
something nice for somebody else. And before you knew it, it came full circle. So
Wow.
yeah, that's to me, that's what's important, is that you do something so somebody's motivated to do something for somebody else, and not necessarily that it
Yeah.
comes back to me.
Exactly.
It's just that it's out there in this world. And I admire the fact that you've said that, men need to be men and step up, and because there's too many men out there that they'll start a family, they'll walk out, and that's what's wrong with our youth nowadays,
Yeah.
is that there's not a man in the house
Yeah.
that can point them in the right direction.
I mean, that's a lot of what's going on in our world today. I mean, we're sitting here watching these different things happen, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's the government. Oh, it's the schools. Oh, and it's just like, yeah, but when we really take it down to the nitty gritty, let's take it back to the epicenter, right? That's the home. Like,
Hmm.
what's happening
Exactly.
inside the home, because we have dads who either aren't there or are there and are so callous, or are hurt because of how their dad was. And that was one of the biggest realizations when I started really interviewing people, because this 5th book that's coming out, and it'll be coming out in the next few weeks here, it's called 100% Me Dad, right? And it has been the absolute hardest book for me to write. The other 4, I just toss them out, blah, 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 but this book right here, and it's just like, it's because of the importance of it. Because we're sitting literally in a time and in a space where the dad is really a gray area. Because,
Hmm.
music videos and commercials, and even some of the government incentives say, hey, I'll give you more if dad's not there, right?
Exactly.
And so it's just like, what is the deal? Because my mom was an incredibly strong woman, and she taught me really everything I know, and I love her for it. But she could never be my dad.
Right.
She could never be that. She could never raise a man in the way that I am without those father figures around. And so it's if we would only understand as men,
Yeah.
that we play a role, and if we stopped focusing on what not to do, because everything tells us what not to do,
Hmm.
right? It tells us, well, don't do drugs, don't drink, don't chew, don't hang with girls that do, da, da. And you sort of focus on the not doing, that you walk right into it.
Exactly.
Like, telling me what not to do all my life is not the same of helping me to do something right, to do the right thing, right? And so,
Exactly.
if only we could change that narrative, if we could literally look at the men in the space and say, hey, this is what it really looks like to be a man. This is what it really looks like, because my mom has always told me you are who you hang around. And we don't realize we're hanging out with all these dudes that are out doing the cool thing, and some of them were doing the cool thing back in high school and are still adults doing that thing. And it's just like, I'm so beyond that. I left that back in 12th grade. Like, why are you still doing that? Like, really? Like, we're still going to do that? And here we are, and we have kids. And then we think that for whatever reason, the kid's standard is gonna what? They're gonna raise themselves, or they should know what we know. And then all of a sudden, you have these kids talking about like, well, my dad, he's kind of a bully at home, and it's this full circle. Like my dad wasn't there, so all of a sudden, what? So you're not gonna be there, Dad? Like because granddad wasn't there for you, you can't be there for me. And we don't wake up. We don't wake up to the fact of, hey, do I want to continue this chain of wrongdoing and making my kids and allowing my kids to feel this emptiness, this void, especially our sons? Like,
Exactly.
how many men that are in prison had fathers who were imprisoned?
This is true.
Right? And we like to call it that cyclical oppression. Right. And I don't want to get too deep into that, because I definitely have a strong stance, but it starts with home for me. It starts with home because, I have a dad who's a 2-time felon. I'm not one. So I've already broke that chain. Like I've already broke it. Like I'm outside of the statistic now. And so I know, and I believe that it can happen. I understand that, hey, I don't have to do as my father did. So how can we change that?
Being that, number one, you're at home, and number two, that you're teaching these lessons to your children, they have a greater chance of success.
Yes, sir. Come on.
I know there's exceptions to the rules. There's always exceptions to the rules, but the chances for them are so much better because you are, like I said, at home, and you're being a good example. And that's what more parents need to be nowadays, instead of, it's always about me. What can I get? What can I get? And then you've totally forgotten about your family and about your friends. And, are you familiar with the law of attraction?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I have that book, and
Awesome.
I have the book of affirmations as well. And I used to share that every morning on my Instagram. I'd get on and do a little, 20, 30-second video about the law of attraction. And like you said, when you're focused on the negative, that's what you bring into your life.
That's what you attract. Yep.
I got a buddy of mine that I've had that discussion with over and over again. He keeps talking about other people and the drama they bring to his life, and that's all he focuses on is the drama. I'm like, dude, when you put a name to it, then it exists.
That's exactly it. Come on.
And if you will let it go, forget about it, and just the people that do try to bring that in your life, then just get them out of your life. Move forward, and it won't exist in your life anymore.
Yeah, and see, what you're doing is you are giving hope. That was the next thing I was going to say, because there's so many men, there's so many dads and individuals who are father figures who hold themselves to that past experience or to that past thing, that past version of themselves. But if you're still breathing, there's still hope. So if you're thinking to myself, man, I have all this drama around me, there is hope for you to change that. Because what a lot of people don't understand is that the mind eavesdrops on your self-talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's nosy. It believes whatever you tell yourself. And so if you tell yourself that I'm constantly surrounded by negativity, that's what it's going to continue. Like, yeah, we are. Let's keep bringing it in.
Mm-hmm.
But if you simply say, you know what, I haven't been the best role model, I haven't been the best father, whatever that thing is, you still have a chance to change that and to turn that around. I know there's some situations that are like, oh, Mike, but you don't understand what they did. But at the very end of the day, you're still here. You still got breath. So you still got a chance. So why just give up? Why give up on the situation?
Oh, I have a daughter that, she's got a nice roof over her head. She's got plenty of nice clothes. She's always got a meal on the table. She's got all these things, but all she wants to focus on is the things she doesn't have.
Right.
And she wonders why she's always depressed and miserable.
Yeah.
Come on, look at all the the great things you do have in your life. And I steer away from politics and religion in most of what I talk about, but every once in a while I get fired up because I've always said God's got a purpose for me, otherwise I
Yes.
wouldn't be here.
Yes.
And God gives you so many things, but yet all we do is think about, oh, I don't have this and I don't have that, and
Right.
trying to keep up with the Joneses and all that, and no wonder you're
Exactly.
miserable,
Exactly. And the
right?
thing is, misery loves company. So not only are you miserable, but you're probably hanging around a bunch of people who are also miserable.
Oh yeah, my wife will tell you to this day, you show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Come on. That's truth. That's truth. And I say that's truth, but that's almost factual at this point in life because we've seen it reciprocated so often in history where it's like you see this one person and however they it manifests, so however they speak it, you understand exactly who they're around. So if you're
Hmm.
speaking negativity, and my first book, 100% Me Mentally, I put on there what I call the cycle of belief. And basically, what that cycle of belief is saying is that the world sends us information. It's constantly sending either positive or negative. It's sending us information. And I studied some neurolinguistic programming, so I know that there's like 11 million bits of information that our minds take in. So it literally goes from the world to our minds, the receiving center. And from that receiving center, we begin to think on these things and analyze them and base them on our morals, our emotions, our feelings, our experiences, and it becomes a belief in our heart. And once those things travel from the brain to the heart, we begin to fill our hearts with it. And out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, which as soon as you start speaking it back into the world, the cycle now continues. Now
Hmm.
you're a part of someone else's cycle of belief. And I'm sitting here and I'm a conversationalist. I love to hear what people are talking about, how they're talking. I spur different questions on, and I can tell a person because I work that cycle backwards. What you're talking about is what's in your heart because it's what's in your mind and it's what you're receiving from your world. So if you're fishing in a pond or a pool of negativity, like what do you think you're going to catch? Negativity. And so if I can
Exactly.
continue this positive cycle, and I'm the silver linings guy, I truly am, and there's a reason for that because everyone else there, for every one of me, there's 1,000 individuals saying, oh, well, hold on, this is why it's bad. This is why this is going to really hurt in the future. And when we're dealing with things like coronavirus and all the
The
the,
riots and
the
everything else.
riots and the racial noise, they're directing the narrative. They're
Hmm.
directing the narrative because when all the stuff when all the racial tension came up, there was like no coronavirus anywhere. Like you didn't hear about coronavirus, and all of a sudden that stuff dies down. It's like, oh, let's bring back up the coronavirus. Hey, there's a resurgence. It's on the rise, and it's just like,
Hmm.
okay, when are we gonna really break this thing down? Like, show us the real numbers because you're throwing out all these huge grand ideas like, hey, coronavirus is on the rise. What does that really mean? And no one, when it comes to the media or social media especially, because now everyone has a platform, everyone has a voice, and so you don't know
Hmm.
who to believe in all these opinions that are coming out. But on the most part, I mean, there's two things that really sells right now, right? And that's sex and negativity. And so they're just
Exactly.
throwing it all out there and seeing what sticks, and people are going nuts, right? I seen
Hmm.
I seen a quote online that said, "How to start an argument. If you want to start an argument on online, share your opinion and then wait." Right? It's just like,
Exactly. Which is one of the reasons why I said I don't try to bring up, politics or religion, because as soon as I post something on social media, I've got 100 people attacking me. For every 10,
yep,
it seems like there's another 100 out there ready to attack me.
that's it. That's it. Everyone has an opinion, and everyone's opinion is a truth to them, and their perception is their reality. And so, how do you, in a PC world like we're in, how do you navigate any conversation? Then, how do you do it?
It,
Like
it's virtually impossible.
virtually impossible.
My one thing about my platform is that no matter what the person's opinion is, I always feel like they should have a place to speak their mind. And
That's good.
so, whether I agree with them or not, I always let people speak their mind. And but I don't let anybody start attacking other people on here. So don't
That's good.
don't want anybody to get that misconstrued. But it's amazing the people that I was told that don't like me and because of the color of my skin and that I'm not supposed to like them have ended up being some of my best friends.
There you go.
So go figure that out.
There you go.
And why? Because we can sit down, we can have an adult conversation.
Right. I mean, it has a lot to do with really self-awareness is huge. Like, I can deal with anyone who is self-aware because no matter what I really say, and my heart is always in it. So if they know my heart, I'm not out to hurt or attack you. And so when you're self-aware to the point where it's like I'm not easily offended by things, then you've won. You've won.
True.
Because the littlest thing can't knock you down. No one can ever come to me and say, well, God doesn't exist. Okay, that's your truth, bud. That's your truth. I'm self-aware to that there's going to be a lot of people who don't believe what I believe, who don't think the way that I think. When it comes to business, I'm a business coach, and so I do some things with corporate. And some of these guys, they think that it's like, dude, you're young, you're black, whatever the thing is. How can you coach me? How can you tell me? But it's like, dude, I've rubbed shoulders with some of the most amazing business leaders of our time. The Pat Lencioni's and the Ken Blanchards. Like, I sat across the table because of where I was a pastor at. I had the opportunity to speak with these guys one-on-one. And so I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, I didn't have to have 20 years of corporate to understand how to deal with people. Like, sir, you have a great business, but you suck with people. Like, you have a hard time understanding the psyche of a person. And so when you're demeaning your people all day long, no matter what you pay them, they're leaving, and that's why you have a high attrition rate. Like it's right. For me, it's A plus B equals C. And so I don't have to have this thing. And again, sometimes they're like, you know what, you're right, let's go after it. And sometimes they don't. But that's not on me to sit here and try to convince them of, because their perception is their reality.
Exactly.
And so I'm self-aware enough to be able to hear, no, get out. I'm like, yes, sir, you have a blessed day, and I keep moving. But I'm not going to let that deter what I'm called to do in the mission that I have on my life.
Exactly.
Because I'm accountable to what has been put on me. And especially with these 3 boys that are now being raised within my household, I have an obligation to them. And if daddy is being tossed about by the winds of hatred and opinions, like, who am I then? I become just like every other father that we sit there and tell ourselves we don't want to be like.
Some wisdom that I learned from my pastor when I first became a Christian. Here I am. I'm on fire. I'm ready to get out there and get the word out. And I would get so upset because people would slam the door in my face, or they'd cuss me or whatever. And I'd be so down and out. And my preacher would tell me, it's not your job to save these people. You just get the word out.
Plant that seed. Yep.
So that's all you have to do. And if they don't want to hear it, then you just smile and say, have a nice day, and move on.
That's it.
You planted the seed, and if it grows, it grows. If it doesn't, that's not on you.
Exactly. And that takes all the pressure off.
Exactly.
That takes all the pressure off. And I do that. I have that same mentality in almost everything that I do. Everything that I do, I'm going to plant a seed no matter what I do. I've had some companies approach me like, man, you're an amazing speaker. I heard you on stage. That was great. We'd love for you to come with us, but you can't talk about X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, understand this. I have my own business. Like, no one tells me what I can and can't speak about. Right. So what is the benefit of me coming over to yours except for the fact that you're going to benefit by having a great speaker? I'm very self-aware to that. I used to didn't want to be a motivational speaker. I hate motivation because I understand that motivation simply changes an emotional state, but it can work vice versa. An emotional state can change your motivation. So now I tell people, you know what? It's circumstantial motivation that I don't like. So if I can find a reason to truly be motivated and truly be joyful, and I can tie those things to the core of who I am, then nothing can knock me off of that. Nothing, because there's no pressure. I have no pressure. It's not my job to make you someone that you don't want to be. If you don't want the help, there's no pressure to me because you don't want it. And if you do want it, then it's a partnership. I'm not here to drag you along. It's a partnership. Like I tell my life coaching clients, I'm not your cuddle buddy. Like, my wife is my cuddle buddy, and she's an amazing cuddle buddy. I love her for her cuddles. Like, there's no pressure. So it's like, if you hire me to help you get to a place, I'm going to help you get there. And I'm going to speak your language to do it. Outside of that, I mean, I fired a couple people too for just not wanting to do it. And it's like, well, you tried to hire me. Like, I'm not going to force you to do something. Here's your money. I'm going to keep moving. No pressure. I'm very self-aware to that. And it's taken me a long time to be there, because what I've understood and what I hope a lot of people understand is that hurt people will hurt people. And I used to be a very hurt little dude. Very hurt. I was hurt by my daddy issues, and I was hurt by the teachers at school. I've had administrators grab me by my afro, and I'm thinking, well, just because I'm a black dude in a predominantly white school, why do you treat me like this? And I was so confused, and I was just like, oh, and I was so hurt, and I didn't know who to hate. Right? Because I was jumped and my foot was shattered by a bunch of black dudes. The white teacher pulled my hair, and every type of person has done me wrong. And it wasn't until I realized that, you know what, every type of person have also done me right. So I can either be that guy who hates everyone because everyone seems to hate me and misunderstand me, or I can see all these people, the majority of the people who love me. The majority of the cops, I've been arrested like 6 times and I've done nothing. One time I was literally just standing on the corner about to cross the street to go get fitted for my senior suit for graduation. And I'm sitting on the curb in handcuffs, and then they leave. They say, well, God bless. And it's like, what do you mean God bless? Like, dude, you just harassed me. And now I'm down here, and I was a pastor, and I had these, cops would literally be there to protect these kids every night, and they love me. So now I'm really confused. I'm like, okay, there's certain cops that don't like me, but there's all these cops that do. Like, I can't put anyone in a box. The box is the comfort zone. The box is the safety. If I can just put you in a box, then I understand you. But now, no group of people, I don't care who employs you. I don't care what trade you're in. I don't care what color your skin is. I can't put that whole group in a box. So where do I go? And that's what we're dealing with right now. People are trying to put every individual into a box, and it's not working. Because not everything is black and white. There's a lot of gray area, and sometimes we function best in that gray area. But until you realize I was hurt, how do I fix this hurt? It starts by getting people out of that box and understanding why. Why were you hurt, bro? Why? Were you insecure and that person just kind of, drove that thumb into that insecurity that you had? That's on you. How do you fix that? Self-awareness. So I really began to look at myself, and like you said, whether you call it affirmations or incantations or simply the fact that it's like the Bible says, asking you will receive, right? My boy told me that. It's like, it's all the same. Where did this come from? I mean, I'm going to let y'all figure out where that all came from, right? Because when I read my Bible, it tells me all of that. It tells me the neuro-linguistic programming. It tells me how to do business, tells me how to be a dad, how to be a man. But, you believe what you believe. But when I started really doing those affirmations every morning, waking up, and I had my list of things that I'm going to be a man first. I'm going to be a husband to my wife. I'm going to be a great dad to my boys. I started to say these things out loud and tell myself these things. That's when my mind really started to believe it. Even if I truly didn't believe it when I was saying it, my mind started believing. After a couple of days, it's like, you know what, you're right. Because look how joyful your sons are. Look at the smiles on these kids' face. I mean, they don't know any limits. They're not limited to anyone's opinion. Look at your wife who hugs and kisses you every moment she can. The girl can't get off. And it's like, babe, hold on. That's why we had a kid 6 weeks ago, right? Like, she just can't get off. You know what I mean? But it's like, that is what let me know, like, you know what? I'm onto something here. I am very self-aware of that. And it's like, I'm onto something. And even though I didn't want to be a motivational speaker, I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to be that CAD designer that got so great at what he did that big business wanted to come and hire me on. And God said, no. That's cool and all, that's great. But what I need you to do is I need you to be a mouthpiece. Because I have other people who are great hands, great feet, great kneecaps, right? But I need someone to go and share this thing eloquently. And so you need to really figure out for your audience, Mike, how can you begin to plant these seeds like that farmer, right? Just tossing seeds everywhere. Some's going to get choked out by the weeds. Sure. Some's going to hit that hard soil. Sure. But some of that is going to take root. Mm-hmm. And whether I get to see that or not is not up to me. It's not my game. As long as I'm out here spreading those seeds, man, that's what I'm here to do. And that's what I will continue to do.
One thing about what God gives you, you think about it, if you're not a thankful person, you're not going to get anything added to your life. Because if just say there's a person in your life and you're constantly giving them something all the time, you're always giving them something, but all they do is gripe to you. I want this, I want that. And, you're going to get to the point where you're like, maybe I don't want to give you anything anymore.
Come on. Yep.
Am I right?
It's truth.
So we need to, number one, this is what I do. I don't do it as often as I should because I do forget, but is to sit down, especially before I go to bed, and say what I'm thankful for.
Yes.
Because, if I'm not, why should God give me anything else?
Yeah.
Why should I get anything else? But if you're thankful, then you're acknowledging the things that you do have in your life. That's that positivity, and that's what brings more positivity. And like you said, you get up in the morning and you want to be a good dad, you want to be this, you want to be that. Well, then that's another part of that positivity that you bring into your life.
Yes, sir.
When you're thankful and you want your children to see that you're thankful, and then you become a better dad. You become a better husband, all those things. And here's another thing is that, I spent a good part of my years as an alcoholic, drug addict. I used to run around with a bunch of women and all that kind of stuff, and I couldn't understand why I had so much misery in my life.
Come on.
And like you said, misery enjoys company. So I had this circle of friends that all did the same thing. And now my circle has shrunk quite a bit.
Yes, sir.
I don't hang out with those people anymore. Don't really even talk to them anymore. I'd still help them if they needed help, but
that's it.
I have surrounded myself with positive people. I get to meet people like you.
Come on.
Come on. That's the things that I've thrown out has brought better things to me.
Yes, sir.
It's, I think, why women like to do the spring cleaning, because once they've cleared out those clothes, they're like, okay, honey, I got rid of all those clothes. I need some new ones.
That's it. Yes, sir. And that's the biggest thing is great things rarely happen unintentionally. Great things rarely happen on accident. I mean, you don't just trip and be like, oh, that was awesome. I don't know how that happened. No. You have to begin to open the door and you have to clean out those horrible things in our lives, right? Those what they call those ghosts in the closet, those skeletons in the closet. Like, dude, you have to address these things. That's part of that self-awareness. That's a part of healing that hurt, regardless of what you believe in, whether you believe in God or the sun or anything else, or nothing at all even. If you are able to clear yourself of those hurts, that's the only time you will even open the door for positivity.
If I could add a little something else to that, you're talking about how the cops arrested you and things like that, and I found out when I would get pulled over or a cop would stop to talk to me and I had an attitude, well, then he was going to treat me like crap. I learned this valuable lesson because I do carry a handgun.
Yes, sir.
And one of the things we were taught in class is if you get pulled over, number one, put your keys up on the dashboard after you shut the car off. Number two, put your hands up in the air. When the cop says it's okay to put it down, you put it down, and you also inform them, hey, I have a firearm. Don't ever call it a weapon, by the way, because that always puts their radar up.
Yep.
You say, I have a firearm, and you let them know where it's at, and you like, do you want me to get it, or would you rather I didn't? And do you want me to reach in the glove box and get the insurance papers? You want me to reach back here and get my driver's license? You show that courtesy to a police officer, 9 out of 10 times, he's probably going to show you some courtesy back.
Exactly.
And it's got me out of several tickets, let me tell you.
Exactly.
It's like, nobody ever treats me like, they're like, why did you pull me over? And hey, some other friends of mine said, it's better that you get hauled off and we fight it in court than you try to fight that cop.
Yep, that's exactly it. Exactly it.
And mention one more thing about God. Somebody asked me about believing in God. I said, you know what? I would rather believe in God and there not be one than to not believe in God and there be one.
Found out you was wrong. Exactly. Yeah, because you gonna be sweating. Like, what? I was wrong.
Feels like Judgment Day is upon us.
Come on. And that's exactly it about the cops, man. Like, they're people. So how would you want to talk to any person? Because if I needed an electrician and he came to the house and I was a jerk, I'm probably going to be missing a couple outlets when he leaves. You know, there's going to be a whole side of the breaker box that all of a sudden don't work. My lamp that I had him come here to fix works, but what happened to everything else? Like, that's just common courtesy. But for some reason, when we get involved with cops, all of a sudden it changes, right? It's different. And it's like, no, I give these people the respect they deserve because look at what they're doing. Like, your job is literally to go out and catch bad guys. Why would I resemble a bad guy when you come to my car? When it's your job to find bad guys? Like, no, that's exactly, and you know, for anyone who has their, you know, CHL in any way, shape, or form, we all got that same speech, right? And I say we intentionally, like we were all in that class. And that's exactly it. It's like, why not help a person bring down that radar? You know, because I heard people say, like, well, it's more than just one bad seed or one bad apple. And it's like, but those bad apples are everywhere, in every place of employment. Like, so how would you, I mean, it goes back to what we used to be taught as kids, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Like, it's the golden rule, man. And so I don't care if you have a badge on your chest. I don't care if you have a ladder on top of your vehicle. I don't care if you have a Bible or a Quran or anything else in your pocket. I'm going to treat you with the type of respect that I wish that you would give me back. And if not, maybe that old Mike may come out at some point because I can only take so much because I'm human, right? But until then, like, I know who I am, and I will walk away from any situation that I feel like I can't be proud to tell my kids about later in the future.
Exactly. Do you watch the Marvel movies?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so let's just say you walked into a crowd, you didn't know who Bruce Banner was.
Right.
If you poked him the wrong way, you're going to turn him into the Incredible Hulk.
That's exactly it.
You treat him like he should be treated, then everything.
You'll see a genius.
I mean, how do these people feel like if they're in the service industry, you know, or if they're working at Walmart's or whatever, and, you know, are you going to be more apt to help that customer that comes in and shows you courtesy? Or are you going to try to find ways to not help this person because they're being a jackass to you?
Exactly. Just like the Bible says, I mean, you dust your sandals off and you keep moving. Like, it's worse off on them. You think that interaction you had with them was bad? Imagine what's going on in their own minds. Like, if they hate everyone else, they definitely hate themselves. Like, if you can't love anyone else if you don't love you first, because that inner talk, like I said, the mind eavesdrops, and whatever you're saying to yourself, your mind is taking that as truth, and it's like, yep, you're right. Henry Ford said it best, right? Whether you can or you can't, you're right.
Exactly.
Like, whether you think you can or you think you cannot, you are absolutely right in that. And that's what a lot of people have to understand. It's like, don't fight hate with hate. That's not because it sounds good to say. It's the fact that it just doesn't bring about a solution. And I'm not saying, like, you know, the Beatles, all you need is love. Like, okay, you know, it is what it is. But fighting hate with hate, fighting dark with dark, fighting, like, it just does not bring about a positive solution. Nope. And there's so many people who seem to not understand that. And it's like, if I can get you in any way, shape, or form to understand that fighting hate with hate is not going to bring about the light that you're looking for or the solution that you're looking for, even if at the very foundation of it, you have the right heart behind it. If you come at it the wrong way, you're not going to accomplish that goal. You're not going to accomplish the thing that you're trying to accomplish for your community, for your household, for your spouse or your kids. Like, you have to take that self-aware, and a lot of times it takes a little bit of humility, like that word that no one really likes to hear, that humility. It takes humility, because humility is literally taking one's own worth as second to someone else. Like, if I can look at you as even more important than me, then I'm going to come at you differently. I'm going to speak to you differently, way beyond respect. Because I love me, if I got to put you above me, then I love you even more than I love me right now. And I'm going to speak to you just like that.
Oh, look at Jesus. He got down and he would clean the apostles' feet.
Yes, that's exactly it.
So, you have people like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, I could go on and on and
Yeah.
on, and all of these people, they would tell you, you've got to put that love out there, no matter how difficult it may seem. But the biggest destroyer of this planet seems to be ego.
Man,
Everything gets
come on.
traced back to ego.
That's it. Pride comes before destruction. Come on.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was getting at. Pride comes before destruction. And that's exactly what this country is going to right now, because
Exactly.
everybody wants to be right. Nobody wants to
Oh,
see the other side of the fence.
that's it.
And, I'll be the first one to tell you, I am not always right. My
Right.
wife will come and tell you when honestly, when I would rather just go ahead and give in than argue. I hate
Yeah,
arguing. I don't care if I'm right or I'm wrong. That's not the point. I'd want to get the arguing over with. Now,
exactly.
if I have to put my foot down on something, I will.
Right.
But you got to pick your battles.
Exactly. And that's leadership. That's good leadership. Sometimes you gotta let people find out the hard way, because no matter what you say to them, they're gonna argue and they're gonna fight you on it. It's like, you know what? I will be agreeable. That's not saying that you're right, but I'll be agreeable. I will agree with you in this moment, and you're gonna have to find out that hard way. But
Mhm.
if there's any message that I can give to any person, I mean, listening to this, watching this, it would be just that. Find that place of humility in yourself. Understand that, you know what, sometimes, like you said, some battles just aren't worth fighting. It's not worth fighting. So humility brings hope, man. So if I can be a hope infuser, especially in today's world, that's what I would love to be. I'd give you hope, have some humility, because pride does truly come before destruction, regardless of what you believe, regardless of what you feel like you stand for. If you have that pride and that ego trip inside of you, it's only a matter of time before whatever you're doing in the dark comes to light. And most times, it's detrimental to your reputation.
Mhm. Thank you. Okay, so the first book was about
It's,
mental.
yes, sir, 100% me mentally.
Okay, and the second one
Is
was
physically, 100%
physically.
me physically. Yes, sir.
And the third one?
The third one is 100% me hustler. So that's the one that I really speak
Okay.
on in the corporate setting. And the fourth has been 100% me mom. The fifth coming out, 100% me dad.
Well, and if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Come on. I'm the head, but she the neck. I can't move without her.
Exactly. Okay, so if somebody wanted to buy these books, where would they go?
Yes, sir. The best place to go is my website. It's speakaudibly.com. From there, you can get in touch with me. Any sort of coaching that if you want it or need it, you can get it there. Also, my books. There's a whole tab that says books. It'll take you right to my Amazon author profile. You'll see all 4 of the books. Like I said, soon to be 5 books. But yeah, speakaudibly.com.
Speakaudibly.com. And if anybody wanted to follow you on social media?
Yep. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, again, at Speak Audibly. You can find me and see everything that I'm all about.
Oh, sweet. Okay. If you don't mind, maybe this evening, if you possibly could, if you
Yeah.
could send me the links to these, I would like to put those in the descriptions when I make the
Perfect.
videos and the advertisements. And I probably should go ahead and friend you on Facebook.
Come
And
on. Come on. We can be friends. Yes. Yes.
So,
Love it.
and you got the book coming up. And can you give us a kind of a hint of any of the books following that?
Yes, so after that, there's going to come 100% me spiritually, of course.
Okay.
I will say it's less about Christianity and it is more about spirituality. Understanding that there is a spirit being, and I go from there. Of course, I'm planting seeds all day long, but
Hmm.
I don't want to be put in a box. I don't want anyone to think they know me because of that, because I've had a lot of life lived in my 32 years, and so I want to just open up that conversation. But yeah, so I have spiritually, I'm thinking about doing one as siblings, because I want my boys to understand what it means to respect each other, as siblings. Even though one's the oldest and one's the youngest and one's the middle, I don't want any of the stigmas that come along with being a middle child or being the baby, right? And
Right,
so
right.
how do we best love our siblings? siblings, because we all have this love language. We all have this thing like Gary Chapman talks about in his book, The 5 Love Languages. Our kids have those, and so we can't love them as a group. We love them individually, just the same way we discipline them individually. And so so I got spiritually, it kind of runs the gambit, but yes, sir.
All important, every
All
bit
are
of it.
important.
All are
Yes.
important. So yeah, when you talk about being in that box, I have known people that they got money, they got clothes, they got everything, but they won't give you a dime. But then I've known those people that don't have anything and they will give you everything they've got.
Come on.
Because like in Mexico, for example, we went there on a mission trip, and while we were there, we were meeting the people in this town, and this town was poor. I'm telling you, poor. The place where the church was at, the people literally made their homes out of stuff they found in the dump that they were living in.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I remember being there, and I guess the climate or whatever had dried my eyes out, and I just kept doing this the whole night, and I'm like, oh, my eyes are on fire. And I seen this kid blast past me, and I didn't really think anything of it, but he come running back up to me, and at this point, I'm like, uh-oh, I'm in Mexico. I don't know where I'm at. Is this guy coming to get my money? What's the deal?
Yeah.
And he just runs up and he hands me this bottle and runs off, and I look, and it's Visine.
Wow.
This kid had nothing, but
Wow.
he used the last bit of money he had to go to the store to get me Visine.
Wow.
And the preacher told me what had happened. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was wondering why this kid came up to me with this, because he felt like it was necessary for the preacher man to have comfort. And I didn't feel like I was worthy of that, but this kid did. So that meant a lot. And I'll be the first one to tell you too, I forget that lesson in life.
Yes, sir. We all do.
We
all do.
We don't appreciate what we have. We don't appreciate the fact that there's other people that hold us in regard, and we should be that example that they look at us. So thank you for all of this, man.
Yes, sir.
I definitely need the link so we can put it on our social media and in the descriptions. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, brother. No, let me just honor you for allowing me the opportunity and the space and the voice to be able to share what's on my heart, and hopefully it inspires and gives hope to someone out there.
I'm gonna keep this in mind, because sometimes we do have live events on Facebook.
Okay.
And I have some folks that I'm sure would love to talk to you as well. Awesome. And so I will reach out to you when we have another one of those discussions, because I think you'll enjoy it.
That's perfect. I love to see. I love to hear. Let me know.
And I couldn't do any of this without my listeners and the subscribers and viewers on YouTube. Y'all are wonderful. Thank you for keeping this afloat, and for helping this to grow. I mean, we're spreading out to the UK now.
That's awesome.
So that's how wonderful this is. So once again, thank everyone, and tune in for the next wonderful show.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network and on Instagram at The Vibes Broadcast.